This is not a story about fame. It's not about riches or perfect endings. It's about a woman, a mother, a fighter, who had nothing but gave everything, who bent but never broke. This is for every mother who went through hell and never let go of love. This is my mother's story. The first time I saw my mother faint, she was lying face down in the dust of Oba Market, her wrapper halfway loose, with a basket of tomatoes spilled around her. I was only 9, but I will never forget how her hand twitched like she was still trying to reach for something. People gathered and shouted. Some pointed. Some laughed. No one helped. I just stood there, holding the bag of pepper she asked me to watch, not knowing what to do. It was a hot afternoon. The sun beat down like a curse and flies danced on the tomatoes. Mama had not eaten since morning. I knew because she gave me the last slice of yam we had. I didn't know what fainting was then. I thought maybe she had died. 2 young men finally helped lift her. One slapped her face gently. Another poured water on her feet. Her eyes opened slowly. She looked at me first. Even in that weak moment, her eyes said, "Are you okay?" She didn't care about herself. That was the day something changed inside me. I understood that my mother was fighting a battle I could not yet name. And I also understood that nobody would fight it with her. She stood up that day, dusted herself, and apologized to the traitors like she had committed a crime. Then she picked up what remained of her tomatoes, tied her wrapper tight, and continued shouting, "Fresh tomato, sweet pepper, buy from me, oh." Life can be hard. Growing up, people said my father was a good man. I wouldn't know. He left before I could even talk. Mama told me once that he went to Lagos to find better life, and never came back. No letters, no money, nothing. Just like a ghost. When I asked too much about him, Mama would grow quiet and start peeling groundnuts with a distant look. Sometimes I saw her wipe her eyes and blame it on pepper smoke even when there was no pepper nearby. The women in the compound said it was her fault. Maybe she drove him away, they whispered loudly enough for me to hear. Maybe she tied his destiny. In our town, when a man leaves, the woman carries all the blame. Like a stubborn goat, it is always her fault. Mama never answered them. She just tightened her scarf and worked harder. She sold tomatoes, peppers, sometimes akra by the roadside. Whatever she could find. Whatever could bring small money. Sometimes at night, I would hear her praying in her room, whispering, "God, just let him grow up strong. Help me. Just help me." In primary 4, the school sent me home because I hadn't paid my fees. I still remember the shame. The teacher shouted it in front of the whole class like an announcement, "No school fees, no sitting down here." I carried my little bag and walked back home, head down. When Mama saw me at the door that afternoon, her face tightened. She didn't shout. She just asked, "They sent you back?" I nodded. I couldn't even speak because my throat was tight. She sat down slowly as if her legs were too heavy. Then she asked me, "If you have to choose school or food, which one do you want?" She smiled small like it was a joke. But it wasn't. I said school. I don't know why. Maybe because she had always made it sound like school was the magic that would save us both. Maybe because even then I wanted to save her too. That evening, she sold her last basin of Gary to pay my fees. That night, we drank only water before sleeping. One Saturday morning, Mama and I went to the big bakery in town. They usually threw away leftover bread at noon. Poor people like us would gather and beg for some. That day, a woman with a fat wrapper and loud voice pushed past Mama. She grabbed 3 loaves and shouted at the rest of us to go and find work. Mama kept quiet. She stood aside, holding my hand tight. When the bakery worker threw out the last basket, everybody rushed. There was madness. Dust rose. People shoved. Mama let go of my hand and jumped in. I watched as she fought. My mother, the woman who taught me to be polite, was dragging bread from another woman, shouting, "My son must eat today." They pulled and pulled until the bread tore in half. Mama didn't even dust it off. She just grabbed the piece, held it to her chest, and pulled me away. That night, we shared the torn bread with small sachet water. It was the sweetest bread I ever tasted in my life. In our compound, Mama was called different names. That abandoned woman, the struggling one, the pitiful one. Children were worse. They laughed when they saw my torn shorts or when Mama went to the stream early to fetch water before the big women could bully her. One evening, after a long day selling akra, Mama sat me down and said, "People will call you many names. Let them. You know your name. You know who you are." I nodded, even though I didn't really understand. Later that night, when Mama thought I was asleep, I heard her crying. It was the kind of crying that doesn't make a sound. Just small gasps like a wounded animal. I wanted to go and hug her, but something inside me said to stay still. Sometimes people need to cry alone. I remember when Mama was seriously ill. It started with coughing. Small at first, then worse. Mama would bend over, holding her side, trying not to scare me. One Sunday morning, she couldn't get out of bed. Her skin was hot like firewood. She kept saying, I'm fine," but she couldn't even stand straight. We had no money for the clinic. So I did what she taught me. I went to the pharmacy shop and begged the woman there. I told her I would pay later. The woman, tired of seeing our faces, threw me out. I went back home and found Mama shivering under her wrapper. I sat by her and held her hand. It was the only thing I could do. 3 days later, she managed to stand again. I still don't know how. Maybe God, maybe stubbornness, maybe both. When Mama got better, she sent word to Auntie Eka in the next village. Auntie Eka was her cousin, rich, proud, and always smelling of imported perfume. Auntie came with her big car one afternoon. Neighbors gathered to watch, pretending they weren't curious. Inside the house, Auntie Eka said, "Let me take the boy. He can help me in the city. You stay here and patch your miserable life." Mama's eyes hardened. She smiled politely, but I could feel her anger. "Thank you, Ike. But my son will stay with me." When Auntie left, Mama sat down heavily. She said, almost to herself, "Nobody will own my child but me. Nobody will use him like a slave." That day I realized something else. Being poor means people think they can own your life. When I was in primary 6, I wanted to join the football team. I was good and the coach said I had talent. But they asked for a fee for boots and uniform. Mama smiled sadly when I told her. "Maybe next time," she said. There was never a next time. I watched from the sidelines as the other boys played. Their shoes shined. Their uniforms were new. I played barefoot with stones when nobody was looking. Mama used to tell me, dreams are good, but food comes first. Even then, I didn't blame her. I just packed my dreams into a small box inside me and kept walking. Those days, we never had electricity for long. The government would promise, and the wires would hang on the poles like broken snakes. At night, Mama lit a small kerosene lamp. Sometimes, when we had no money for kerosene, we sat in the dark, talking or just listening to the crickets. Those were the nights Mama told me stories about how she once wanted to be a nurse, how she used to dream too before life closed its fist around her. She told the stories with laughter, but her eyes betrayed her. They were heavy with memories. I learned that some stories are told not to remember, but to survive. One night, when I was about 12, a fire broke out in the compound. Somebody's cooking stove fell over. Mama grabbed me and we ran outside with nothing but the wrapper she tied around her chest. The fire ate everything. Clothes, pots, the small mattress we used to share. Gone. Neighbors shouted. Some cried. Others just watched. Mama held my hand so tightly my fingers went numb. she kept whispering, "We are alive. We are alive. Things can be replaced. Life cannot." We slept under a tree that night, listening to the embers crackle. It was the first time I realized we truly own nothing in this world but each other. After the fire, we stayed with Mama Ngozi, a kind woman who lived 3 streets away. She gave us one small room with no windows, but we were grateful. One afternoon, Mama went to the market to beg for old clothes. A man who owned a shop saw her and asked why she was begging. She told him everything, about the fire, about me, about the life we lost. Maybe he was touched. Maybe he was just tired of seeing suffering. He gave Mama a small job, helping in his food store, arranging goods and sweeping. The pay was tiny, but it was enough to buy food and 2 mats. Mama said it was a miracle. I think it was just one human being finally seeing another. That year, I learned how to fight. Boys in the new area bullied me because of my torn clothes, my silence, my mother's poverty. They called me Rag Boy and Fire Rat. At first, I cried. Then Mama wiped my tears and said, "Tears don't stop fists. You must defend yourself." So I did. First time I fought back, I got a swollen lip. Second time, I broke someone's nose. I wasn't proud of it, but something changed after that. People stopped seeing me as easy prey. Mama didn't scold me. She just said, "Next time, fight with your mind, not your fists." Often on those nights, when Mama is fast asleep, I would sit by the small window looking at the stars. I would dream of becoming an engineer, of building big things, of fixing broken things, not just machines but lives too. Even when the world pushed us down, my dreams kept breathing. I didn't tell Mama at first. I was afraid it would make her sad. Dreams were heavy things in our house, heavy things we couldn't afford. But one night she caught me drawing in the dust with a stick, shapes of bridges and roads. She smiled and said, "Dream, my son. Dream louder than their laughter." When I finished primary school, the headmaster told Mama that I should go to secondary school. He said I was one of the best in the class. The fees were high. Uniform, books, exam papers. Everything was expensive. Mama sat for hours one evening, calculating with her fingers. At last, she sighed and sold her only good wrapper, the one she wore for church and weddings. She told me, "Education is the only bride price I will ever collect from you." I didn't fully understand, but I knew it was something sacred. So I wore my second-hand uniform with pride, patches and all. Secondary school was harder. Longer hours. More books. More hunger. There were days I went to school with nothing but water in my stomach. Days my head felt light from hunger and I couldn't hear what the teacher was saying. I started doing small jobs after school, washing cars, running errands, shining shoes, anything to bring home small money. Mama never complained. She would sometimes pretend she had already eaten just to give me the little food she had. I hated hunger. Not just for how it made my belly hurt, but for how it made people lie. One evening, I followed Mama secretly when she said she was going to work. I found out she was cleaning rich people's toilets. Big houses with big gates. They paid her peanuts to scrub floors and wash bathrooms. When I confronted her, she said, "I would scrub the devil's toilet if it meant you get an education." I cried that night. Not because I was ashamed of her, but because I was proud. Proud of the woman who wore her dignity like armor, even while others threw stones. One rainy afternoon, Mama's employer accused her of stealing jewelry. It wasn't true. But because she was poor, because she was easy to blame, they believed the lie. They threw her out without paying her. She came home soaked, carrying her broken sandals in her hand. I wanted to fight, to shout, to burn their house down. But Mama sat me down and said, "Revenge is a luxury we cannot afford." Instead, she found another job the next week. She refused to let bitterness plant roots in her. She taught me that losing everything doesn't mean losing yourself. When I was 16, something happened that changed everything. A man from an NGO came to our school, asking for students who were brilliant but too poor to continue education. My teacher submitted my name. After tests and interviews, they awarded me a full scholarship, books, uniforms, even lunch money. When I brought the letter home, Mama held it like it was made of gold. She danced in the compound. She cried. She prayed. She sang. She told everyone, "My son will wear a graduation gown before I wear a burial cloth." It was the first time I saw Hope sit beside us at our small table. Years later, when I graduated from university, I wore a cheap but neat suit. My classmates had rich families, big parties, photographers. Me, I had Mama standing barefoot in the sun, her wrapper faded but her smile brighter than the sky. When they called my name, I walked up the stage thinking only of her, of the days she fought for bread, of the nights she prayed through hunger, of the fire, of the shame, of the strength. When I got my certificate, I held it up high, not for me but for her. It was her victory too, maybe even more hers than mine. Today, as I sit here writing this, I am a man with a house, a job, and respect. But more than that, I am my mother's son. She taught me that strength is quiet, that real heroes don't wear capes, they wear cheap wrappers and scrub toilets, that even if the world throws you into the dust, you can rise again, and again and again. Mama didn't live to see all the things I built. She left this world one rainy morning whispering my name. But every time I build a bridge or fix a broken machine or help someone who has nothing, I know she is watching, smiling, proud, still surviving inside me. She did not wear a crown. She wore scars. She did not build palaces. She built me. She did not live to see everything I became. But everything I am, everything I will ever be, is because she chose to survive. This story is for her, and for every mother like her. Thank you, Mama. Thank you.